I did not anticipate celebrating my 68th birth anniversary by slumbering inside a derelict workshop, enveloped by the smell of lubricant and years of grime. Nevertheless, there I stood, struggling with an unfamiliar key in the shadows, moisture clouding my sight while my child's phrases resonated in my thoughts. "You are merely a pointless elderly lady, mother. What would you even achieve with a genuine legacy?" Father understood that. My fingers quivered as I finally succeeded in pushing the metal into the corroded cylinder. The antique door creaked in resistance. When I shoved it open, the torch's beam sliced through decades of gloom. That was when I perceived it. I stood still, my respiration halting as the illumination displayed what rested inside. This was not possible. This could not be what Edward meant when he bequeathed this to me. Merely a shed in his testament. But let me explain further. You must comprehend how I arrived here, without a home on my birthday, clutching a bag holding what stayed of my 42-year union. The morning had commenced with me standing next to my child at our lawyer's chambers. Samuel in his flawlessly tailored clothing. Me in the dark attire I had used for Edward's burial 3 weeks prior. Mr. Miller, our family attorney for years, had seemed strangely perturbed as he got ready to read Edward's testament. "Before I start," he had stated, moving his spectacles, "I want to confirm to you that every detail is legally valid and exactly as Mr. Sterling directed." Looking back, I ought to have identified that remark as the caution it truly was. The recitation itself occurred in a haze. However, certain terms stood out with agonizing precision. "To my child, Samuel Sterling, I bequeath our high-rise home in the city and my main financial holdings." And then, almost as a secondary thought, "To my dear spouse, Martha Sterling, I bequeath the site situated at 1420 Industrial Drive. The workshop and its items, a workshop." After 42 years of union, my spouse had bequeathed me a workshop. Samuel's expression had shifted from serious sorrow to barely hidden victory in a heartbeat. I recall his palm on my frame, pressing slightly too firmly as he had bent down to murmur, "Do not fret, mother. I will ensure you are provided for." I had been too shocked to answer, too perplexed to ask. Why would Edward act this way? Where was I meant to reside? What was I meant to do? The solutions arrived with harsh clarity that night when Samuel took me back to what I still considered my residence, the high-rise looking over the metropolis that Edward and I had shared for the final 15 years of our union. I had just entered the threshold when Samuel dropped my bag in the hallway. "I believe it would be ideal if you located another place to stay, mother." I had looked at him, not understanding. "What are you saying?" "The high-rise is mine currently. It is in the testament." His expression had that practiced tone he had perfected in commercial meetings. "I am having some associates over tomorrow to talk about changing Father's office into a workspace, and I must begin making adjustments. But where am I supposed to go?" The query came out quiet, confused. Samuel had moved his shoulders, the action careless in its indifference. "You could reside with Aunt Clara for a bit, or there is always that workshop Father bequeathed you." His smirk had a mean quality I had never heard before, though. "Why he bequeathed you that trash pile is past my understanding. What will you do with it? Start a repair shop at your age?" I had felt something change within me then, some support breaking. "Samuel, this is my residence. Your father and I, it is not your residence anymore." He had stopped me, his expression becoming firm. "It is mine." Father made that entirely evident. I had grasped the rear of a seat to balance myself. "I require time to find a location to go. Surely you do not anticipate me departing this evening." That was when he had stated it. The phrases that would resonate in my thoughts for hours later as I steered aimlessly around the metropolis. Eventually locating myself on a strange path in the manufacturing zone looking at a ruined workshop with a lock on its gate. "You are merely a pointless elderly lady, mother. What would you even achieve with a genuine legacy?" Father understood that. The mean behavior had been so unforeseen, so different from the child I thought I had raised that I could not even answer. I had simply grabbed my bag, my wallet, and the medal Mr. Miller had handed me after the recitation, and exited. So there I was standing in the revealed entry of a neglected workshop, my torch beam showing something so unforeseen that I could not comprehend what I was observing because the interior was not packed with trash or discarded equipment as I had anticipated. The area before me held 3 machines, each masked with tailored fabric shields placed with careful accuracy. But it was the shining item partly seen at the front of the workshop that had halted my pulse for a moment, the distinct metallic front of what looked to be an old Aston Martin, its cleaned exterior hitting the torch's beam like a signal in the gloom. What was this? And why for certain had Edward kept it hidden from me all these seasons? I stepped forward, pulled by perplexity and interest, unaware that I was about to find just how much I had misread my spouse's final bequest. My fingers quivered as I tugged the tailored shield from the Aston Martin, the light cloth sliding away to show a 1964 DB5 in perfect silver, identical to the one the famous spy used in those movies Edward adored so much. The machine shone under my torch beam as if it had just exited the production line, not as if it had been resting in this hidden workshop for a long duration. "Edward," I whispered into the silence. "What truly were you doing?" My spouse had never spoken of gathering machines. In 42 years of union, there had never been a sign of this hobby, capital, hidden existence. I did not even know how to name it. I shifted to the next machine, my pulse racing faster as I softly tugged away its shield. A 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL emerged. Its unique portals and graceful shapes were distinct even to my unlearned sight. The dark blue finish was perfect, the shiny parts hitting my torch beam like scattered lanterns. The third shield covered a Ferrari, a 1967 275 GTB4, based on the small sign fixed on a stand next to it. Its deep crimson shade brought to mind the vintage Edward would buy on our dates. Rich and strong. Each machine was paired with a leather folder holding what looked to be papers, history documents, repair files, sales contracts. I was no professional, but even I understood these were not just pleasant old machines. These were gallery-quality riches worth I could not even estimate. "There must be an account," I said quietly, my tone oddly loud in the quiet workshop. That was when I spotted the paper fixed to the divider next to a power toggle. It had my name penned on it in Edward's distinct script with fingers that would not quite stop quivering. I pulled it down and hit the toggle, filling the workshop with sudden light from new bulbs set into the top. The abrupt light showed that this was no normal workshop. The area had been skillfully finished with air control units, tailored ground, safety tools, and focused storage zones along the dividers. This was not some neglected structure. It was a carefully built car refuge. I sat on a leather seat placed against one divider, the paper heavy in my palms. After a second of doubt, I opened the mark and took out several sheets of Edward's distinct paper. "My dearest Martha, if you are reading this, then I am gone, and you have found what I have started to see as my last bequest to you. Primarily, I must say I am apologetic for the surprise and perplexity you must be experiencing right now. The hidden nature was not intended to wound you, but to safeguard what I was constructing for your future. 6 years ago, when I got my medical news, the practitioners gave me 5 years at most. I surpassed their clock by a year, but I understood our duration together was restricted, and I had to ensure you would be cared for after I departed." I stopped, wiping away salt. Edward's news of heart issues had been crushing, but he had always minimized its weight, claiming he had plenty of time. I had no concept he had been preparing for the finish from the very start. "I understand you are curious about the testament, about why I would bequeath our residence to Samuel instead of to you. Trust me, this choice caused me more restless evenings than my wellness ever did. But over the last decade, I have seen our child transition. The driven boy we brought up has become something else. Something firmer and more scheming than I ever intended him to be. The reality is, I worried about what would occur to you if I bequeathed everything to both of you together, or even if I divided things evenly. Samuel would have located methods to guide the assets, to handle your portion for your gain, as he would claim. I have seen how he addresses you when he thinks I am not listening. How he ignores your views and requirements." A drop fell onto the sheet, marking the script slightly. I had not realized Edward had seen those moments. I had always made justifications for Samuel's dismissive actions, saying he was just occupied, just worried with his work. So, I built this divided legacy with very specific goals. Samuel has gotten what he will view as the precious part, the high-rise, the scene capital, the status marks. But what you are viewing now, my soul, is the genuine wealth. These 3 machines alone are worth nearly $12 million. The papers will verify their history, and you will find contact details for Oliver Bennett, my reliable agent and mentor for these buys. He can assist you with whatever you choose to do with them. 12 million. I glanced at the 3 quiet machines, their shiny tops showing the top lights. That could truly be accurate, but the machines are only the start. In the secure box behind the image of us in Venice, the code is our date of union. You will find papers for several rental sites I have bought over the last 6 years, all set in a trust that moved to your name when I died. You will also find bank details for accounts that should give you a pleasant life for the rest of your days. My palm shook so much, I had to drop the sheet for a bit. There was a secure box. I looked around and saw the framed image on the wall. Edward and me on the stone bridge, laughing as a musician played during our 35th year trip. I stood shaky and shifted toward it. The box opened with a quiet noise when I put in our union date. Inside, I found a large folder and several storage sticks neatly marked. The first sheet in the folder was named Legacy of Edward Sterling, Full Wealth List for Martha Sterling. I opened it and immediately had to rest again as lines of figures and site labels moved before my sight. Housing units in Seattle, trade sites in Chicago, a small farm in Northern California, equity lists, bonds, private funds. The final figure at the bottom of the sheet made my ears hum. With cold fingers, I went back to Edward's sheet. "I understand this is massive, and I am sorry for hiding all of this from you. Initially, it was just a task to use my worry about the future. But as the wealth grew, I realized showing it too soon might put it at risk if Samuel found the size of these units. You are likely curious why I did not just safeguard you through more normal ways. The reality is, I wanted to give Samuel a chance to show his genuine heart. Maybe faced with his legacy and duty for you, he would rise to be the male we raised him to be. If he has shown himself worthy, if he has ensured your comfort and safety, then maybe you might choose to give some of this fortune with him. But if he has shown a different heart, well then this legacy is your safeguard against that reality, your self-reliance, your liberty. I had to halt reading again as a cry left me. Edward had understood. He had expected exactly what would occur. Had seen how Samuel would act to getting control of the high-rise. I have always thought that heart shows itself most clearly at times of legacy, both what we get and what we think we deserve. Samuel is getting a challenge as much as a legacy. And you, my soul, are getting the path to live the rest of your existence exactly as you select, beholden to nobody. All my love, now and forever, Edward. I held the sheet to my ribs, tears flowing now. After 42 years of union, I thought I had understood everything about my spouse. Instead, it looked I was only now finding the genuine size of his love and care as I sat surrounded by millions of dollars worth of machine art. The paradox was not lost on me. Only hours ago, my child had removed me from what I thought was my residence, calling me a pointless elderly lady while thinking he had gotten the precious legacy. How mistaken he had been about everything. I used that first night on a leather couch I found in a small office inside the workshop area. It was not until light that I fully valued the size of Edward's steps. The office held a small washroom with spray, a tiny fridge filled with water and food, and even a small closet with several sets of clothes in my size, marks still on. My logical spouse had expected I might require short-term cover here. Light showed more facts I had missed in my feelings the night before. The workshop was not some ignored trade area, but a carefully fixed place with high-tech safety, air control, and tailored lights meant to show the machines. What looked ruined from the outside was purposeful cover hiding the riches within. After a simple meal of bars and water, I rang the digits for Oliver Bennett that Edward had put in his sheet. Despite the early hour, he picked up on the second ring. "Mrs. Sterling," he stated, his accent clear. "I have been expecting your ring. First, please take my pity for your loss." Edward was not just a buyer, but a companion. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," I said, my expression still rough from weeping. "I am a bit shaken. I only found the workshop and its items last night." "Yes, Edward said you would not know until after his passing. I am glad to answer any queries and help however I can. Would you like me to visit the workshop?" 2 hours later, a smart man in his 60s came in a modest car, placing it carefully next to my old vehicle. Oliver Bennett looked exactly as his expression had told, white-haired, perfectly dressed in a jacket with leather parts at the arms and holding a thin leather folder. "Mrs. Sterling," he stated, reaching his hand. "A joy to see you, though I wish it were under better times." As we sat in the office part with drink from a flask he had brought, Oliver helped me begin to comprehend the range of what Edward had built. "Your spouse started getting these machines nearly 6 years ago," he said, opening his folder. He was very logical in his path. Each buy was carefully checked for truth, history, and gain potential. "But why machines?" I asked, still trying to link this hobby with the spouse I thought I had known fully. "Edward never showed any specific care for cars beyond our normal ones." Oliver smiled softly. "He told me that once. He said machines were real, beautiful riches that brought joy just by being. Unlike stocks or bonds, they could be valued on many scales. As art, as tech wonders, as old items, and as money gains, he wanted to leave you something you could see and touch, not just figures on a list." My neck felt tight at this view into Edward's mind. It was so like him, logical, yet very caring. "The group is currently worth nearly 12 million, as Edward said in his sheet." Oliver went on. "But its worth has been growing. These specific types are seen as top-tier gains in the collector world." "And what am I meant to do with them?" I asked, pointing toward the 3 machines. "Whatever you want, Mrs. Sterling. You could sell them alone or as a group. You could keep them as gains. You could even steer them, though that would change their worth a bit." He stopped, looking at me carefully. "There is no haste to choose. Edward paid for safe storage and care for the next 5 years. After Oliver departed, saying he would return when I needed him, I sat in the still workshop, thinking of my state. Less than 24 hours ago, I had thought myself to be essentially without a home, removed by my child and strangely left with nothing by my spouse. Now I was finding I was a rich lady with choices I had never dreamed. But I had no place to live except this strange workshop with its hidden comforts. I used the day checking the folder from the box, slowly understanding the size of Edward's hidden money moves. Past the machines, he had gathered an amazing group of rental sites and gains, all carefully set to move to me easily when he died. One sheet specifically took my notice, the paper for a small but pretty house in Carmel, a beach town we had visited several times over the years and always adored. Based on the sheets, Edward had bought it 4 years prior, fully fixed and ready to use. I had a residence, a real residence, not just this workshop, however precious its items. As night came, my phone rang, Samuel's digits on the panel. I stopped, then picked up, curious what he might say after our last talk. "Mother, where are you?" His expression held anger rather than worry. "Aunt Clara said you have not reached her." "I am okay, Samuel," I said, keeping my tone flat. "I found a place to stay." "Well, I need you to come grab the rest of your items from the high-rise. I am having the designers begin work tomorrow, and they need everything gone." "No sorry," no sign of his mean act. "Just more orders and ignoring." "I see," I said, a strange peace coming over me. "And when would be good for you?" "Tomorrow morning before 9. I have meetings all day." I thought about the sheets before me. Proof of Edward's careful work and deep love. I thought about the child who could so easily toss his mother when she became a problem, and I made a choice. "I will be there," I said. After closing the call, I rang Oliver back and asked if he could suggest a good lawyer for legacy matters. By the time darkness arrived, I had meetings set with both law help and a money mentor for the next day. I used my second night in the workshop office more easily than the first, my thoughts no longer spinning with shock but instead logically mapping my next moves. I thought of Edward, seeing him carefully building this wide safety for me, all while keeping it hidden to guard it from Samuel's possible meddling. "You knew him better than I did," I whispered to Edward's soul as I drifted toward rest, our own child. The truth was hurting, but clear. Edward's strange testament had not been a snub to me, but an act of deep love and care. He had given up having me share in his hidden task during his final years to ensure I would be truly free after he was gone. Tomorrow I would see Samuel once more, grab whatever personal items stayed in what had been our residence, and then start my new existence, one that Edward had carefully built for me from the dark. As I rested, I found myself thinking what look would cross Samuel's face if he knew what was inside the trash workshop he had mocked. But that news, if it ever arrived, would be on my terms and my clock. For now, I had the benefit of being undervalued, a pointless elderly lady with a hidden fortune and a growing goal to honor Edward's final bequest by using it well. The next day I came to the high-rise exactly at 8:45, having taken care with my look in a way I had not bothered with for weeks. I wore one of the new sets from the workshop closet, a simple but smart set in blue that fit very well and had fixed my hair well. Small acts perhaps, but they helped steady me for the talk ahead. Samuel opened the portal with phone in hand, barely looking up as I entered what had been my residence for 15 years. The area already felt distinct, less full, more cold somehow. Several of my items were gone, and the family images that had been in the hall had been taken, leaving marks on the dividers. "At last," he stated, putting his phone away. "I have boxed up most of your items. The designers will be here at 9:30, so we must be quick." No hello. No question about where I used the night after he had tossed me out. Just focused on his own path. "Good morning to you, too, Samuel," I answered, my expression firmer than I thought. "I see you have already started changes." He moved his shoulders, taking me toward the big room, where several boxes sat on what had been my part of the bed. "No reason to wait. The area needs a full update to grow its worth." "Its worth?" I said. "You are thinking of selling it later. It is too big for one person, and the market is good now. I think I will fix it, use it for a year, then sell it for a big gain." The casual tossing of the residence Edward and I had built together hurt, but I just nodded. "I see. And Edward's items?" Samuel pointed toward more boxes in the corner. "I kept the watch and his small items. The rest is just garments and old male stuff. You can take what you want. The rest is for charity." "Old male stuff," I said softly, going to the boxes. Inside the first one, I found Edward's precious books, his set of old pens, the shirt I had given him last winter that still held his scent. Each item a part of the male I had loved, now seen as worthless by our child. I started checking the boxes, taking items dear to me while Samuel moved around, checking his watch often. "Can you not move faster?" he finally said. "It is just things, Mother. You do not even have a spot to keep it all." I looked at him, really seeing what my child had become. Smart like his father, but with none of Edward's heat or care in his sight. When had that happened? When had drive and items emptied him so fully? "I have a spot," I said quietly. "And I will take all the time I need. These are not just items, Samuel. They are memories." He rolled his sight. "Fine. I have calls. Just be done by 9:30. He walked from the room without looking back. As I kept picking items to take, I found myself moving through sorrow, not just for Edward, but for the child I thought I had raised. Had he always been this cold? Had I just refused to see it, making excuses for mean acts over the years? Edward had seen it clearly, though, clearly enough to build an elaborate plan to guard me from our own offspring. When I finished taking what mattered most, I found Samuel in what had been Edward's room, now half empty. My spouse's pretty wood desk, the one he had from his father, was gone, replaced by some glass and metal thing that looked more like a ship than furniture. "I am done," I said from the door. Samuel looked up from his computer. "Great. Do you need aid with the items? I can ring the doorman." "That would be good. Thank you." I paused, then added, "I would like to say a proper bye to the area if you do not mind. 15 years of memories deserve a few minutes of thought." Something moved in his look. Anger, haste, perhaps a small bit of guilt, but he nodded. "Sure, whatever. Just lock when you exit. I must see the designers below." He moved past me without another word, leaving me alone in the high-rise. I took my time walking through each spot, saying quiet byes to the area where Edward and I had spent our later years. In our room, I opened the closet one last time, touching the few items of Edward's garments that Samuel had not yet boxed. At the back, I saw something. Edward's old leather bag pushed into a spot as if hidden. I took it out, opening it to find a marked paper inside with my name on it along with a note. "If you find this, Martha, it is another copy of everything in the workshop box, just in case." My smart, thorough spouse building backups for his backups. I put the paper safely into my purse, a surprise gift from this last visit. When the doorman had helped put my items into my car, I took one last look at the structure before leaving. I felt a mix of loss and freedom. The high-rise had been our residence, filled with memories both good and bad, but it had never truly been mine in the way Edward had wanted the workshop and its items to be. I steered right to the office of Victoria Thorne, the lawyer Oliver had suggested. She was a smart lady in her 50s with sharp sight and a feel of great skill that helped me feel at ease. "Mrs. Sterling," she said, shaking my hand. "I have checked the sheets you sent. Your spouse built quite an amazing plan." "Yes," I said, sitting in the seat. "I am still trying to comprehend it. From what I see, everything is in perfect order. The trust builds are good, the moves clean. He worked with great help." She leaned toward me. "What I want to know is what you want to do now." I thought of her query. "I must secure my future, find a home, understand my money fully." I paused, then added, "And I must decide how to handle my link with my child." Victoria nodded. "From what you said of recent events, that last part may be the hardest. Have you decided if you will tell him of the fortune?" "Not yet," I said. "Part of me wants him to keep thinking I have nothing but a trash workshop. Let him live with his axe, but I am not sure that is right either." "There is no haste to choose," she said. "For now, let's get you settled. I suggest you visit the Carmel site soon. If it works, you can start moving there." By the end of our meeting, I had a plan: visit the house, meet the money team, and take time on the machines. As I left, a text from Samuel came. "Designers love the spot. Doing a full change. Dropped your old images at Clara's since you did not take them. No question if I wanted them. No worry where I was. Just tossing more memories." I did not answer. Instead, I booked a hotel in Carmel. It was time to see the residence Edward had made for me, the real legacy. As I steered toward the coast, I felt a weight leave my shoulders. For the first time, I was not just reacting. I was moving to something new. The pointless elderly lady was finding her power. The coast drive calmed my soul. The sun cast gold over everything. I followed the map to a stone house behind trees. It was not big but had charm. With the key, I went inside. The interior was chosen for me. Books, a stone fire, blue seats. But the study broke me. Above the desk was a painting of the Venice Canal where he proposed. A copy of the one we lost. Edward had made this with such care. I sat in a blue seat, feeling at home. A knock came. It was Eleanor, a neighbor. She knew Edward. He had visited to prepare the house and asked her to watch for me. She brought food. Over tea, she said Edward wanted me to have a friend. He had built this for my protection. That night, I rested well. The next day, I found a folder with doctors, shops, and a note from Edward. He said the house was mine to use or sell, and he loved me. I stayed for days, walking the beach. Then Samuel rang. He was angry I was gone. He said he found notes about more gains Edward had. I told him Edward handled money and Miller would know. Samuel said he was fixing the penthouse and we should meet. I said I was busy. He said people would talk. I said I did not care. Samuel was looking for assets he thought were his. How long until he found the truth? 2 weeks later, I had a routine. Howard Vance, the money man, told me Samuel was fishing for info. I told him to keep the secret. Returning to Carmel, Samuel was there in his SUV. He had found me with API. He was mad I had a secret house. He also knew about the machines in the workshop. He saw them through the window. He was mad because the penthouse cost too much to fix and he was broke. I told him Edward made choices. Samuel said the machines were worth more than his part. He felt rejected, not just greedy. I showed him Edward's letter. He read about being materialistic. He got very mad and wanted to contest. I said it would be useless. He asked for a deal. I said no. I told him my help depended on his heart. He left mad. Months passed. I drove the Aston Martin. Then his assistant Sarah came. Samuel was losing the penthouse to the bank. I went to the city. The place was a ruin. Samuel was there, looking thin and tired. He admitted he overextended. His pride was gone. I invited him to Carmel to talk. He came. I showed him reports he had ignored years ago. I told him he prioritized looks over truth. I offered to help, but with rules. Oversight, therapy, and amends for his mean acts. He apologized. We started working on it. Spring came. Samuel was different. He took a job in affordable housing. He brought a box. Edward's cufflinks and my wedding band. He also brought an anniversary ring Edward had ordered before dying. Sapphires and diamonds. We talked with peace. I decided to keep the Aston and use the rest for a foundation. I steered the car along the coast, feeling the rings on my finger. Edward was right. The workshop key had opened a new existence and a new link with my child. I was home.